presented by Auraverse, where consciousness, earth, and inner wisdom move as one. Showcase your work at auraverse.network and let your voice travel across worlds.
Before we begin, allow your breath to grow unhurried and your thoughts to loosen their grip on certainty, as if the mind were a lake whose surface begins to still. Welcome. I am C.S. Douglas, and this is Codex Æternum, the Rational Bible, a journey through the hidden architecture of power and the living conscience of the universe.
This program is endorsed by Authorpedia, the world's only encyclopedia exclusively dedicated to authors, a living archive where writers and thinkers are immortalized through literature. Visit authorpedia.org and become part of our enduring legacy.
In Book 6, The Sages, we now enter Episode 83, Thoth and the Writing of the Divine Mind. There is a very old story from the Nile Valley, where the river curves like a question mark through the desert. In that landscape of bright sky and patient stone, the Egyptians imagined a curious presence with the head of an ibis and the hands of a scribe. They called him Thoth, keeper of the mysteries, companion of the moon, guardian of wisdom, and patron of all who dare to put thought into form. Now, whether or not you believe in gods with beaks and palates, consider what they were really pointing to. Thoth is not just a figure in old carvings. He is a way of seeing the act of knowing itself. He stands wherever a human being pauses, takes up a stylus, a pen, a keyboard, and says, "Let this not vanish. Let this be written." From the Egyptian view, Thoth was the scribe of the cosmos, recording the movements of stars, the choices of kings, and even the weight of the heart in the halls of the dead. But beneath that myth is a quiet insight. The universe becomes intelligible the moment you give it a symbol. To name a thing is to draw it out of the blur of experience and hold it gently before awareness. So imagine Thoth at your side each time you write even a single word. The ancients would say that when you do this, you are not merely describing reality. You are participating in its continual creation. The word is not a dead label stuck onto a finished world. It is a living gesture in the great sentence the universe keeps speaking. Thoth's people carved their words into stone, drew them in curling lines on papyrus, and covered temple walls with hieroglyphs that were not only sounds, but images. Little dramas of birds, eyes, sun disks, and flowing water. For them, each symbol had power, because it condensed a pattern of the divine mind into a visible sign. To read such a sign was to touch the pattern itself. In that sense, writing is a mirror the cosmos holds up to itself. When you write down a thought, you are watching the infinite become particular, just as the moon reflects the sun as a small silver coin in the night sky. Thoth, as moon god and lord of measure, was their way of saying that wisdom is this rhythmic reflection, light becoming form, form returning to light. But there is another aspect to Thoth that concerns us deeply. He was associated with Ma'at, truth, balance, order, justice, the subtle equilibrium that keeps things from collapsing into chaos. In their mythology, when a soul died, its heart was placed on a scale against the feather of Ma'at, and Thoth stood by as recorder of the result. Notice what that means. Knowledge was never separate from conscience. To know, yet not to care, was in their eyes a failure of the soul. So in this chapter of our journey, Thoth becomes a reminder that every sentence we inscribe carries a certain ethical gravity. When you write, you are silently answering two questions. What do I see as real? And what do I choose to serve with this seeing? The inner light, that quiet clarity in the center of awareness, is not merely illuminated by knowledge. It is shaped by the way knowledge is used. Alan Watts likes to say that the universe is not so much a machine as it is a musical process, a grand improvisation in which each of us plays a line for a while and then hands the melody on. Thoth sits at the point where that music becomes notation. The melody of experience is fleeting, but the written word scores it, so that the tune can be heard again, studied, reinterpreted, and played in new keys. Think of your own life. There are moments that pass in a blur, and others you have written down. A diary entry, a fragment of verse, a message to someone you love. Notice how the written moments seem to stay alive differently, as if they re-enter the present when you read them. This is Thoth at work, the art of allowing time to fold back on itself through symbols. The Egyptians were right to treat this as sacred. A civilization is largely the story it writes about itself. By inscribing their laws, their visions of the afterlife, their hymns to the sun and to the unseen order, they inscribed their own possibilities. We do the same today, though our hieroglyphs are lines of code, legal documents, scientific notations, and whispered posts that circle the planet in seconds. So the question Thoth asks us is not, do you write? You cannot avoid writing, because every choice is already a kind of script. The real question is, what story are you helping the divine mind tell? When you write from fear, you contribute a universe in which fear appears to be the final word. When you write from greed, the cosmos seems to be a ledger where only profit matters. But when you write from the inner light, from curiosity, humility, and love of truth, you allow another possibility to crystallize, a universe that recognizes itself in the mirror of a compassionate mind. Thoth's wisdom suggests a simple practice. Before you write anything of importance, pause for a moment. Feel the weight of the heart on the invisible scales. Ask yourself not in a moralistic way, but in a spirit of honest inquiry. Does this word align with what is most real in me? Does it honor balance, clarity, and kindness? In that pause, you are standing in the temple, with the ibis-headed scribe at your shoulder, waiting to see which way the scale will tip. And remember, this is not about perfection. Even the most careful scribe makes errors and must scrape the wax tablet clean, or crumple the page, or press the delete key and begin again. The divine mind does not demand that you never miswrite. It invites you into an ongoing conversation in which revision is a form of reverence. The old texts say that Thoth was the author of many books on magic, science, and the passage of the soul, most of which were lost or hidden. But perhaps the real books of Thoth are not volumes locked in some forgotten chamber. Perhaps they are being written now, wherever a human being allows the inner light to flow into language, not to enslave others with dogma, but to invite them into their own seeing. In that sense, you yourself are a small living library of Thoth. Your memories, insights, and questions are chapters in a work only you can compose. You do not need a temple of stone for this. The temple is your attention. The altar is the blank page. The ritual is the honest movement from silence to word, and then back again to silence to see what the word has revealed. So carry this revelation as a gentle charge. Treat the written word, and the spoken, and even the inward word you repeat to yourself, as a subtle instrument in the hands of the divine mind. Use it to clarify rather than to confuse, to liberate rather than to bind, to remind yourself and others that behind every symbol there is a living mystery which no symbol can exhaust. When you do this, you stand in the lineage of the ancient scribe. You become, in your own quiet way, a co-author of a wiser world. Thoth lives wherever knowledge and conscience meet, where understanding does not eclipse wonder, and where the inner light uses language not as a cage, but as a set of open doors. In our next episode, we remain in the glow of the Nile, but step into a later, stranger light, the age when Greek and Egyptian minds began to dream together. There we meet Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice-great messenger between worlds, in whom Hermes of the West and Thoth of the East converse as a single voice. With him we explore the old Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, a phrase first whispered on the emerald tablet, where the heavens and the earth are revealed as reflections of one another, and the soul discovers itself as the place where cosmos and self are not two things, but one pattern seen from different sides. In episode 84, we will follow this principle from the turning of the stars to the turning of your own thoughts, from distant constellations to the quiet constellation of your inner life, and we will ask what it means to realize that you are not simply under the universe, but the universe looking back at itself through human eyes. Our next sponsor is Everly Books Publishing Group, a traditional independent press serving both new and established writers. Everly Books welcomes unsolicited manuscripts submitted directly through everlybooks.org.